Fantastic. Today I am with Camille Myles. I'm really excited. She's a French-Canadian multi-disciplinary contemporary artist and formerly an archaeologist and park ranger. She is also an award-winning Canadian contemporary artist, just to mention that, and with a deep connection to nature and history, bringing hope and transformation to her community. And she works in painting, sculpture, installation, public art, like a huge diversity. And yeah, so I'm really grateful to have you on the show today, Camille. And yeah, she also creates conversations about identity and celebrates change and growth in her work. um Sounds so intriguing, so I'm excited.
Well, thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. So I found you online and well, on Instagram, as I usually kind of like spend some time there looking at the beautiful art that's around. And yeah, it's just your art has caught my attention. And um your sculptures, the ones that you're also like posting recently, I really enjoy. But I know that you're doing such a wide variety of artwork. So just for the listeners right now, perhaps from your words, like tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do as an artist with your work.
I've as an artist, I think it's really important to fuel that creativity and to constantly explore and experiment. Sometimes, especially online, we're taught or almost shown to be one aesthetic, and actually that's pretty counterintuitive. And for me, um, I wanted to premise to say that because I am very multidisciplinary and you can see varied approaches, but it's still very me. So I use watercolor, for example. If I'm on a hike and I'm painting outside, I bring a sketchbook and I'm painting, and that might create a study for a larger painting in my studio. I work from references of nature. So sometimes it could be landscapes and they're abstracted. I've done series like that. But then, you know, I am also very influenced by the my situation now. So I am a mother of three beautiful kids, and also, as you said, like a former park superintendent and an archaeologist. So all those experiences come in my mind when I'm creating. And right now, I'm working on a series of sculptures and installations using ceramics, and I've created like a lot of it's about 200 clay butterflies right now that are going to fill a room up, and it's really to talk about that power of transformation and change in this world. So I'm working on those things. I have a show, an exhibition in June, and sometimes it does take very long time to get to like a finished product, and I'm not showing everything I have online. But really what I'm interested in is just showing that we all have that power to transform ourselves and change. And sometimes we get stuck sometimes in that past, and we want to look to the future, but we do forget about our beautiful present. And I'm kind of playing with this idea of the past influencing what we do now, and really creating like this idea of a hopeful future. And sometimes my art can be yeah, multi-layered, I guess, in meaning as well. So I'm playing around with those things. So it could be painting, could be sculpture, and I loved found materials as well. So if I'm in a vintage store, or even I go to the garbage dump, I do that. I do go scavenge. And I see what people have like thrown away, and sometimes it's discarded photos. Sometimes it's discarded just objects that are really interesting for me to incorporate and create a new history with those objects. So yeah, so it's diverse, and it's really based. I'm intuitive in the feelings I have, and I have an idea, and then I just jump on that. Yeah, and another thing I do love to do is create conversations with my local community here, and I create large-scale public art sculptures, and I want to continue to do that. And I do also do murals as well, and they have a similar feeling. But the sculptures are there to create a conversation about place and what we want to express within that place, like its history, but also again looking at more of a hopeful future. So I like incorporating mirrors in my public art so that you feel like you're interacting with the piece as well. Oh yeah, that's a little bit about my practice.
Yeah, no, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I was going to ask you about the mirror and the sculpture that you made, the public art, which public art which is sparking conversation with the community, and you have a mirror there, and I'd love to, and if you can explain a little bit more about what's gone into that piece of work.
Yeah. Perfect. And if the listeners like to see a visual why they listen to this, they can go to my website, CamilleMylesArt.com. Under sculptures, you'll see there, as well as my Instagram, you'll see that public art sculpture. And basically it's called Sewn. And it was born out of a collaboration with another artist, friend and mother. So what we decided to do for this community is it's about 25 feet high, and you can walk under it, and it's basically a seed pod abstracted with a seedling of a white pine tree coming out of this seedling, and the seed is held by 5 stylized log pillars, but they're not logs, they're actually steel. And they talk about this area is is built out of the logging industry and was clear cut completely. There was everything was gone about 100 years ago. All the trees were gone, and there has been regrowth. But the main tree of this area is the white pine. And what we wanted to do is kind of celebrate that, or at least acknowledge that past of that deforestation and sometimes like removal of Indigenous culture and just that change and development. So the 5 pillars represent that. And it's they're kind of, it seems like the seed is going to fall on you. It won't, but you can go underneath, and it feels like a little precarious. You're like, oh, is this safe? And it's meant for that. So I like work that like feels a little stressful. And then we decided to do this mirrored surface underneath so that you can see yourself and be very active within the piece. And now we're really surprised because, when we sketched it out and we collaborated, and the other artist, his name is Holly Archer. I encourage you to go see her beautiful work too. But when we first developed this idea, we thought, oh, it would be great if people came, took selfies under, and then went about and interacted with the piece. And now we can see that it's actually become a tourist attraction. Wow. And people, even tour guides are bringing people to start at this location, taking a selfie and then starting their tour of this area. So that's something really amazing that has happened. And that particular work, Zone, kind of gave me the, I guess it would be permission to set out to my dream. You know, I was at that time when I developed this sculpture and working towards it, I was still working as a park superintendent and, you know, balancing my home life with the 3 kids and trying to do it all. And then I kind of decided after more of a like a little mental break to say, okay, what's more important in life? Can I bring all these passions and interests I have and just go for becoming an artist full time? Because I went to art school. Yeah. I did go to art school in my 20s in Montreal and Ottawa. And I always loved making art. But after art school, I didn't know how to become a professional artist. Like, they don't show you. I won awards. I did all these great things in art school and then came out and it's like, good luck. You know, you want to be creative, but, you know, you go to a gallery, you knock on their door and the door gets shut in your face. So I was creating exhibitions on my own. I was doing all these things, but I still had to pay my bills, right? So I worked in a field that was like similar. And I said, you know what? I'm really interested in conservation work and archaeology. So then I went and worked in Rome, in England. I came back to Canada and worked in conservation, helping communities preserve historic buildings. And that was really, really fulfilling for me. And I always got my art. I was always on the side and I was still doing it, but I didn't really take myself seriously. It's only after this big public art sculpture project that I thought, hey, is this possible for me? Would it be irresponsible of myself to leave this, you know, beautiful, secure job that I loved, I enjoyed, and to chase my dream that was always there, but I never saw myself until that big project happened and said, oh, this is possible. Maybe I can, you know, do this. Maybe if I have more confidence in what I have to say, this is possible for myself. So that public art sculpture really sparked something more in me. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And I'm very happy it went this way. I think, first of all, the story behind it, well, what you're trying to show with that, or like to bring to light for people to have conversations about the background. And then like how you're explaining what it's supposed to be doing, like from the pictures, just I can feel that sense of like, oh, it might, like when you're standing underneath it, it might fall on me.
Yeah.
And then the fact, obviously, that it's brought for you that change that you've dreamt for so long. That's really, really amazing. And this has been in 2021, right? That, yeah, 2021.
Yeah.
So it's not
that
long ago. That's really
no
cool. So how
so everything on my website is basically within the last 2 years. Yeah. So I feel like I've exploded significantly, if I can say that, in my transformation, and I let myself create. Because I love the title of your podcast, Born to Create, because I do feel that way. When I was born, I feel like it was always in me. I was the one doodling and painting, drawing outside all the time. And I was encouraged to do that. And then all of a sudden, at one point, like I said, with art school and maybe afterwards, it became almost not possible, or I didn't see role models that I could really relate to in the art world. And that's really important. If you can see, let's say, successful women artists, or even that are mothers out there being successful, then you think, oh, if it's possible for them, it's possible for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think when I was a little younger, I knew I wanted a family, but I just, in the art world, it was not something that was very approved. And the people around me, it was a lot of male artists that were getting the gallery shows, and you were kind of discouraged. Well, you're gonna have a hard time. You're a woman, and you want a family. Oh yeah, good luck with that. So yeah, so I guess it's now what I think is amazing with the internet, and just the online world is bringing back the sense of ownership of your own art, and you can share what you feel like and your own aesthetic, and just be yourself, and you'll find an audience. I think that's amazing. You don't need the gatekeepers, not necessarily with the galleries, although of course I enjoy having gallery exhibitions and participating in that world, but I think it's more of like a relationship now, and it really, our audience is global. It's not just your who in a really small area. It's more well, you can create these relationships with anyone in the world, which is beautiful. It's great.
Yes, it is. No, absolutely. No, that's fantastic. I'm also so glad about the internet, in that sense, bringing all those opportunities now for artists. So that's yeah, super wonderful, and important.
Well, because now we can talk.
Yes,
we're able to talk, and you're in Germany, and
exactly.
I'm in Canada. It's amazing. Yeah,
no, that is really amazing. So in terms of this artwork that's really kind of like opened up this new reality or opportunity for you, how did you get to creating that piece of art as well? Like, how did you find the opportunity to make this?
well, it was actually, if I can rewind, I did one other public art sculpture, large scale sculpture, and it's in a town called Penetanguishene. So it's a tongue twister. So it's on my website as well. You can see it, and it's basically a giant mirrored sphere on the top of a hill. So this town is built on the top of a hill, and it's a large sphere that's only held by a stylized paddle, and the paddle is supposed to represent Indigenous people. And you ground yourself in the present by looking at the streetscape in the sphere, and it feels like it's going to come down. So again, with the feeling of precarity and uncertain or unease about the present, and that's normally how I think about the world. It's a little bit uneasy, and it's a little bit unsure, but something will happen that's beautiful out of it. Anyway, so I created this public art sculpture first, and it was installed in 2020, right before the pandemic. I loved doing this piece, and what happened was I had my third baby at the time, nursing in the middle of the night and all that. And I had a friend who sent me a call for proposals for public art, and it was a call for local artists. And she knew I was a local artist, but not really practicing. Like I said, I wasn't really involved. I did a few gallery shows and things like that, but I wasn't taking myself seriously. And so I looked at the call and said, oh, that's not for me. I don't know how to do public art. I've never done this before. I just looked at it and set it aside. And then in the middle of the night, I woke up with my baby, was nursing, and was in this trance. And then an idea came to me, and I said, oh, I know exactly what I could propose for this call. And it was almost like magical. I don't know if you've read Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. It's a
Oh,
great book.
yeah, I know Elizabeth Gilbert, but I
Yes.
haven't read the book, but yes.
Yes.
Got it.
Her book, Big Magic, explains this idea of some ideas are just in in the universe and then you catch them. So I caught this idea and I wrote a proposal and I wrote it all through the night. I was up anyway, so I I wrote it and then I sent it off the next day. Not, you just forget about it and like, okay, I don't know if it's gonna be any good. And they came back to me and they said, we love it. We want to know more. And how are you going to make this happen? I said, don't worry, I can do it. And it was only because I had the confidence. And my experience as a park superintendent, I was managing infrastructure projects, so big construction projects. So I knew how to collaborate with construction workers or people, and I knew this idea of collaboration. So I just knew that if I could find the right people to help me build it, it can happen. So I did. I went and searched for companies that created public art, and I found this wonderful local company that does work all over the world. Just miraculously was in the same little town that I am in. So
Wow.
that was, yeah, and they
Yeah.
were really interested in helping me out because they wanted to create more public art in this area. So it was a great partnership.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so the company is called La Fontaine Ironworks. Just a little plug for them. They're fantastic to work with. So since then, we've been collaborating on projects,
Yeah.
and I think that for me sparked this idea of you don't have to do it alone. When you have a great idea, focus on that idea and then find the right people to make that idea happen. So artists and creatives are creative. We think differently. And why not, you know, have this great concept, but then find the right people to make it even better. And I think a lot of great artists do that. You don't have to do it all alone, let go of that feeling that you need to do it all alone. It's great to hone your skills and get better if you want to, let's say, be a steel worker and really concentrate on that. You can do it. If you want to do ceramics and you're a painter, well, try it out, see what you can do. But I even know some artists that are doing ceramics now or painting on ceramics. They're painters, but they decide to collaborate with a ceramicist to create the vessels, and then they paint over, and it's still their piece. It's a collaboration between. So I think that's really interesting too. So the next big public art sculpture, I knew I wanted to do something, but I felt like I needed more support and maybe even, some help developing the concept that I had with another artist. So it's like, let's get together. And so that's why I approached this other artist and to do it. So I think that's the power of, partnership, collaboration too.
Well, that's really amazing. And actually, like when you shared this, I was feeling like, oh yeah, I could feel that, like that thing of like you have to do everything yourself, like just lift off and actually make it easier for yourself, and the amazingness of collaborating with others, and how we can sometimes have this limiting belief of needing to do everything on our own, or artists needing to just be able to do everything themselves. And I love that this message of you don't have to do it alone. Like, wow, this is just a release of this pressure. Amazing. And
Yeah.
and amazing work that comes together perhaps as well. You know, otherwise, you know, how might one create certain things, and even like in the process of it, perhaps like in the communication with the other person and collaboration, more magic to come through. So I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
great.
true. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. So no, amazing. And as you were sharing about the artwork, I'm literally looking at it, and it's really cool. And I like the point of how you want to create this sensation of it, of this a little bit of what was it, unease or something, like it's
Unease.
unease. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
can see that
I
working.
think that's yeah, and I think that's important for any piece of art to have, like, you have a first impression of it, and you can like be attracted to it like aesthetically. You know, oh, this is interesting. But then when you look at it, it's like, oh, this is making me feel like this. I like that uneasy feeling. Even recently, I've done an exploration of old family photos in paintings and oil paintings. I wanted to get back into it, and but also explore my own past. So as I said, like, I was an archaeologist and very interested in conservation and the past, but I hadn't explored my own past a lot. So to get into my own limiting beliefs and where I can go in the future, I really thought, okay, I have to let go of this past and deal with, deal with stuff.
Yeah.
Deal with stuff. And how do I deal with stuff is through art. So I took these like old family photos, and I have a whole bunch of reference photos, but not that many. I don't have that many. And I created these well, I have one in the background, and they're oil paintings where certain figures have been removed, either because I haven't, I don't remember who they are. That could be, or like a missing memory or fragmented memory. I wanted to talk about that. And also, I didn't necessarily grow up with my own mother. So becoming a mother myself, I had to figure it out. Like, without a reference of a mother growing up, you have to then just rethink your own relationship and what it is to be a mother and what is a good mother, and just figure it out. So I guess through these paintings, I'm talking about that and letting go of the resentment or somewhat of anger that my own mother maybe wasn't part of the whole picture. And now she's still with us, and I've reconnected with her later in my 20s, and now I'm closer to my mother now. But that feeling of her not necessarily being there when I was growing up is it just influences my work today, and even my life as a caregiver.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm exploring right now, and will probably be in my upcoming show that I have in June. So yeah.
Yes, yes. I can really feel like actually like how much your art actually sparks conversation, and how meaningful it is, and how much you put of thought into it, and yeah, so I find that really, really inspiring. And the artwork that you just explained as well, that you're doing, the paintings, and the history with your mom not having been part of you growing up, and then now you're connected, but how you're bringing that into your work. And yeah, so that's really inspiring. I'm curious, I don't
Thank
know
you.
like, now that you have your third child, or your three children, and you have how was, I guess, like, how was that for you? um how was it for you to grow up without your mom?
Well, it's not something that usually talk about a lot. I feel like I talk about it through my art and with my mother too now, and my own like family unit. But I think it's yeah, it's just different. I didn't think anything differently when I was growing up. I thought this is just how it is. And I threw myself in art actually, and I also threw myself in um, sport. So I did a lot of like I played basketball, I ran marathons, and it was a way. Now I know like being in a team environment or connecting with other people was really important to me. And also I found running, and I started running again recently, but running, it is calms your mind. So I've like learned ways to calm my mind. And I think I realize now that everyone has a backstory. Everyone has some little traumas, big traumas, whatever it is, but that they influence where you're going next. And right now, when I look at my family, I want to be like really present. And one of the things I didn't know how to be an artist and be really present with my children and even in the art making itself. But I went to art residency not too long ago at Mothra. So that's Artscape in Toronto. That particular artist residency, if anyone is an artist mother, I do recommend that residency. So it's MOTHRA. And what the impetus for this particular residency is you bring your children with you.
Wow.
And they don't provide care. So what you do, you're with other artist parents, and you create your art alongside or with whatever you choose with your kids, and you'll get interruptions. You'll figure out, hey, you want to stop and create this painting on the wall, let's do it on paper, let's go and play. So you kind of play with your kids, you care for them, they go and play with other kids within this residency. And for me, it actually sparked like, oh, I can be creative, and I don't have to have resentment for my kids for disturbing me, because there's this idea, and maybe it's a very like male perspective, so you say, like it's, you know, you have to be in a certain zone, in a flow, you can't be disturbed, and you have to work in solitude. That's where you get your great ideas, and to do really great conceptual work. And artists are often told that that's the environment you have to be creating in. And when you throw that belief out and you say, I can make great work and have interruptions, and my kids could see me be at this table and they're playing alongside me or painting themselves or whatever they want to do, but they know I'm working. And if I get interrupted, then that's fine, that's part of the process too.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think that residency was really like amazing for that. And I hope it helps other people feel the way that I feel now, for sure, is that, and they see it too. They say, oh, mommy's working. Now they can see that other artists are working in the same way. And they respect that too. I think that's really amazing. Yeah.
That's amazing. Such an amazing idea. And really, really powerful actually, that mindset shift, I guess, or the different narrative of, you can create amazing work with interruption, instead of that idea of no one has to only be creating in solitude to get those ideas flowing. And that's powerful. I've written that down, this mother residency. That sounds awesome. So so you had this inspiring moment, I guess, like, which kicked off all your public art and therefore your dream. I love that you you reference to that book as well, Big Magic. And actually I didn't read it myself, but I sent it to somebody as a gift once.
Oh, you did.
Because I just connected with it, and obviously Elizabeth Gilbert, sorry, I knew about her. So I love that, you know, it felt like synchronicity, and like you know, just you were born to create, and then put into this for that to have to happen for you. So that's also really amazing. Inspired
Yeah.
action there.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I'm just wanting to kind of like ask some final questions, like in terms of what would you say to somebody who does feel like, oh, you know, I'm not born to create. I actually don't feel like I have creativity within me, or it's always that artist is better than me, or I could never create this. Like, what would you say to that? Because as the birthing of this podcast being, you know, I feel that everyone is born to create, obviously channeled into different directions, or some might not own that creativity at all, but it's still there, isn't it? So what would you say to them? Yeah.
Well, I'll start by saying there's another really good book to recommend. Maria Brito, How Creativity Rules the World, I think is a great book that sparks that idea that we're all creative. And you can see, if you can have that creative mindset, is that you're open to experimentation. You're open to new ideas. You're also looking outside your own little niche market. And that's really important to get out of the, first of all, the imposter syndrome, and also the comparison circle, because you can do this just spinning around in comparison to other people that are similar to you. And then what you start thinking is that there's not a place for me. The world is not abundant because we're all in competition. So if you shift that and say, well, the world is actually billions of people, like it's billions of people, there's always a way to find someone that's like connected with you and your story. So get out of your own little niche. And let's say you're a painter and you like to do flowing acrylics, and you play around with flowing, and all of a sudden all you can see is people doing the same thing that you're doing. And you say, well, they're in like competition with me, they're stealing my ideas. Like, it's not a good mindset. So you want to get out of that comparison syndrome and just go to something else. For example, walk in the woods, start doing yoga. What are your interests? Looking at other interests and follow those things. Because I think I got into a trap, especially going into art full time, is that I was following only artists and thinking about only art, listening to only art podcasts. And then the comparison syndrome and also the imposter syndrome starts, because that idea is so much better. How, oh darn, I wish I would have thought of that. And then it's not necessarily all that healthy. However, what a bit of jealousy doesn't hurt. It does say, it gives you a nudge to say, oh, maybe that's a dream of mine. Why am I jealous for that particular thing? It's so specific. So maybe I should look into that and say, and turn it around and say, oh, maybe there's an opportunity for me to learn something or get into something. Like for me, I always loved ceramics. And in art school, I did a lot of clay work. I did sculptures. And for years, I've been taking like classes, local classes here at this pottery studio even the teacher was like, okay, well, you can do more now. You don't need these classes. You can just come and do use the studio. So that's what I started to do, is find a studio where I could just play and work on these ideas and make a vision alive. But I didn't have that much experience in it. I'm going out of my comfort zone, and I think that for an artist and a creative, everyone could be creative if you just let yourself go a little bit and get into the uncomfortable, because you have to learn something new. Like, I didn't know almost anything about ceramics, and you just, little bit by little bit, you teach yourself and you get better. Even these like 200 butterflies I'm doing right now, the first ones, I look at them like, ooh, I can't even present these. They're not great. But after I had like a great system in how I was making them, and I feel more confident about them, right? So it's just a matter of like honing your skill, your time, investing in something. But no, at the beginning, you might not make great things. Just like when you're doing a pancake, when you're making pancakes or crepes, I feel like the first crepe is always awful, right? It's always like, it's not right. And then you adjust a little bit, and then the second pancake is already better, and then the third, and then maybe the last one, you forget it and it's all burnt up, but whatever. It's just a process. Even that, making the recipe of the pancake at the end, I always feel like I don't do it, because it's true. Even my art, I almost get tired of a certain thing, and I just have to put it away and then try something new again, And I think that's magical, and we don't let ourselves do that a lot, especially online, when you're seeing all the same thing in your niche, and you think, oh, I have to create art to be recognizable. It'd be only one thing. However, when you look at someone that was amazing, like Picasso, you go in the Picasso Museum. Have you been there?
No, I haven't been to the Picasso,
No?
but I've seen
Okay.
Picasso's art in other museums.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to have gone to the Picasso Museum, but you can just look at his work. And from he transformed himself every single decade. You can't even tell that it's the same artist from like one year to the next year. Sometimes it's the blue period, then something cubism, and then he went into ceramics, and then he was doing big sculptures, and then he went back to printing. And when you look at someone like that and say they did it. So if someone says to you like, you have to really niche down and be just like a certain way, you could say, well, Picasso didn't do it, and he was one of the greatest artists ever lived. Or so you can just think about it that way, where you're limiting yourself by just comparing yourself or being too niche, if that makes sense. Yeah,
it makes absolute sense. Absolutely. Because I mean, if you niche yourself, then you're kind of like pushing away a huge amount of creative outlet that might inspire the other part of your creativity, and you're kind of blocking that out then. So and I love what you mentioned as well about letting yourself go a little bit and going through your comfort zone, and then to not compare. But at the same time, you also mentioned about a little bit of jealousy doesn't hurt too, because there might be an inspiration part about it, or where you still have potential to grow into, or something along those lines. So that's very powerful and advice that I feel is I can very much feel that.
good.
Thank you so much, Camille. I guess what would be a project or something like that you feel right now, or not that you feel, but that you've got going on, that perhaps that you want to share with the audience, or anything else where you want to that you want to announce or share with us? Obviously, there's the website and everything is underneath this podcast, all your socials and everything. But yeah, is there anything that you want to share?
Sounds good. Yeah, so I'm really happy that I have a solo exhibition coming up, and I'll be releasing the pieces to collectors in advance. So people can sign up to my newsletter to get more like special access to those things in advance. So that's for sure something I'm working on. And yeah, I think I'm going out of my comfort zone. This exhibition is like telling my story. It's very introspective and personal, but also I hope it connects with a lot of creatives. So I think that yeah, having people look at that, and I'll share all over social media and my website. And that's going to be in June of 2023. So I'm pretty excited about that. So I feel like that's my focus right now. And afterwards, maybe, I'll take a little introspective break just to see where I'm headed, and where my next project lies. So I'm very open to collaboration and to new gallery shows as well.
Amazing, amazing. I can't wait for you to see and to hear about your solo exhibition, and yeah, enjoy that, and also the time of introspection afterwards.
Yeah.
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 So
it's like almost the breath after.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
also important, right, to kind of like after that, to have that time. Thank you so much, Camille. This has been fantastic. I'm really grateful to have had you on this podcast. Like there would have been so many avenues I would have loved to ask you about, of course, in this time. Not everything is possible, but everything that we talked about today was just truly, yeah, thank you for that. It was really amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me, and just having a platform so I can connect with other people. Yeah. So anyone interested in just like connecting, send me a message. I'm always quite responsive.
Fantastic. Amazing. Yeah, go ahead and do that. And I look forward to staying in touch as well.
Thanks. Sounds good.
Thank
you.
Bye.